This video will give you a bit more guidance in creating conclusions for your speech. Here are a few guidelines you should follow when creating conclusions in your speech. The first thing you should do in your conclusion is signal that you are about to shift to the end of your speech. A lot of times students will say, "So in conclusion," that is appropriate, but no, it doesn't have to be those words. You could say, "To wrap things up," "To review what we've just learned," or any other statement that indicates the end is near. We want to signal the end of our speech so our audience knows it's time to focus in again. It is likely that the audience's attention waned some during the delivery of the body of your speech. That happens. We signal our conclusion so that the audience knows it's time to focus in again and because there isn't much left. Beyond using language to signal the end of your speech, know you can also use pauses. It is quite effective to include a bit longer of a pause before you transition into the conclusion. That bit of extra silence will stand out to the audience and hopefully pique their interests. After your audience has been told to pay attention for the ending, you want to review your main points. This is helpful because your audience likely tuned out at some point during the speech. This will help them fill in some of those missing pieces. Know that in the review of your main points, you don't need to list every idea you stated in the speech. Rather, you can pick a few key ideas you think they really need to take with them. This will be the best use of your time. Next, you want to provide your audience with psychological closure. This more or less means you want to make them feel like the speech has come full circle and they can be satisfied that your content has proven the thesis you said it would. We can help our audience come full circle by using the echo technique. When you echo, you take something from the introduction and include it at the end of the speech as well. So if you started your speech by saying, "The family that prays together stays together," and then proceed to talk about how your family isn't very religious, but they are very into water skiing, you could end your speech by saying, "So maybe the saying should be, 'The family that skis together stays together.'" This harkens back to the introduction, but makes the changes your speech called out. So if you stated with an example, you could highlight that example again at the end. If you started with a rhetorical question, you could ask if they would still answer that question in the same way. The last thing we can do to have an effective conclusion is to end memorably. Sometimes our echoed sentiment might also serve as our memorable ending. Other times we might inject some humor, a thought-provoking question, a quotation, a challenge in a persuasive speech, or tie the topic into larger cultural ideas or themes to end memorably. No matter what, you don't want to end by saying, "And that's all I've got." You've worked hard to put an effective speech together. Don't rush through the closing, and find a way to make your message stick with your audience after you finish speaking. Ending memorably will do that. Now you know how to write effective conclusions.